I know Imamov and Khamzat kind of don't want to fight each other. I'm not really excited for that fight. Not a lot of people are, but the Strickland fight, I believe I faced Strickland. In the striking, he definitely beats Khamzat for sure. Khamzat, a problem to deal with when he has you on your back. We've seen that many times. With Strickland, what he does brilliantly, I took Strickland down, I think 7 times. The way he gets up to hold him down is incredibly hard. At Extreme Couture, where they train, they specialize in that cage vision and getting back to his feet. And Strickland's a lot stronger than people might think. I think he has a very good chance in that fight.
Do you think we'll need extra security for Chimaev versus Strickland? Absolutely. I gotta be honest, I don't know if I trust those two enough to put them together before the fight. Because I think they might start fighting. They seem to hate each other and despise each other. And those things are what fights are built on. Those are the things that fights are built on, is bad blood, heat, a true dislike for someone. Sean don't necessarily like anybody, which makes him as fun as anyone to watch. But Khamzat just wants to smash people. Smash. Beat them up, take them down, overwhelm them to the point that they can't do anything.
The main event is the fight that people have been waiting for a long time. Strickland looked incredible in his last performance, and, you know, how much security do you think we're going to need from Chimaev?
Quite a lot, Danny. You need to hire some extra people because Sean Strickland, as we know, the man's a maniac.
Sean Strickland throws a lot of shots at Khamzat, as does Khamzat. I would imagine Khamzat a lot more motivated going into this fight, considering the things that Sean has said about him and their history. And Dana White joked about the fact that they might need a little more security, and I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I'm not upset that Sean is getting this shot. He does have a win over Imamov, and it was a short notice win for him, and he was moving up to 205. Did that come into play? I don't know. Ultimately, if we're being 100% honest, I think what came into play is that this is a bigger fight, and it sells more, and a hell of a lot more people.
I thought Chimaev lost that fight.
What?
He won the first round. Look at the tape. He won the first round, lost the second and third, didn't get more takedowns. Got stuffed up and got punched in the face more. So I definitely thought Usman won. That's a 170-pounder that's coming off the couch. Literally, he's not training. He's not living that life. You know. Now I know he went up to 185 and did some big things, but I don't think he beats Strickland. I don't think so.
What? That is a wild take.
I'll bet.
Yo, that's a wild take.
I'm dumping the house on Strickland on that one.
That's a wild take.
I'm gonna put
really?
like 100 bands, and I don't even think Chimaev fights him because they've trained a lot.
This is a wild take.
You'll see my I'm fucking prize picks. I put up 100 bands of my own money. I'm gonna go whap. That's how confident I am. Strickland beats him.
Dude, that would be huge for his legacy if he beats a guy like Khamzat.
Very deserving, but I guess they are taking into consideration the fact that Sean Strickland has a win over Nasty Namavov. You know, a lot of people were trashing Sean Strickland about his fighting ability before the Anthony Hernandez fight, including Nasruddin Namavov as well. He was trashing Strickland, saying this guy's complete trash, this guy's garbage. And I even put a tweet out saying, this guy beat you on a week's notice. You know, Strickland has some solid wins, and they're definitely coming into play here. Plus, the fact that these two are probably going to have one of the best pre-fight press conferences in recent UFC history is also definitely coming into play here. I would not be surprised if Paramount has a pair of scissors on the cord to Sean Strickland's microphone at this press conference, because I know for a fact he is going to go absolutely crazy at Khamzat Chimaev. He's been saying so much about him. Terrorist this, terrorist that. He's sure, the press conference may be better than the...
This isn't just a fight anymore. This is about to become one of the most vicious personal wars the UFC has ever seen. And when Sean Strickland steps into that octagon with the undefeated monster Khamzat Chimaev, we're witnessing a collision that could literally destroy careers. These two have been circling each other like predators for months, trading brutal insults. And now the entire MMA world is asking one question that nobody can definitively answer. Who survives when pure violence meets unstoppable pressure?
This is what I have to say is that Strickland is, I've always said this, Strickland is extremely tricky to hit, because everyone gets into the sport, is fighting, and then everyone swings at people's heads and try to take off their heads. Strickland had this weird style of just kind of relax here and just kind of throws his hands up to kind of block and leans away to where it's very difficult for people to get to his face to hit him. As you see when he, who was it that actually caught him was Pereira. I think it was coming off of like a fake knee, and it was kind of just a, you know, Pereira has those hooks that you don't really see because his hands are so low, and it just boom, and then a straight right, boom, put him out. You know, it's a very, if you're not in a situation like that, Strickland is.
Michael Bisping just dropped his breakdown of this absolute war, and let me tell you, even a former champion who's seen it all is struggling to call this one. Bisping gave massive credit to Strickland for that absolutely clinical destruction of Anthony Hernandez, and he wasn't just talking about that brutal body shot that crumpled Hernandez like a piece of paper. He was impressed by something we rarely see from Sean, genuine respect and sportsmanship afterward. But here's where Bisping's analysis gets terrifying. He posed the question that's keeping every analyst up at night. How is anyone, and I mean anyone in this division, going to deal with Chimaev's relentless, suffocating pressure? We're talking about an undefeated monster who dominated nearly every opponent he's faced. And let's not forget he controlled significant portions of his title fight against Dricus du Plessis, proving he belongs at the absolute pinnacle of this sport.
Happen. I am, of course, talking about the one and only Khamzat Chimaev taking on for the middleweight title Sean Strickland. That is correct. Sean needs no nickname. He gets called lots of names by a lot of people because he's a controversial guy. But I'll tell you what, the way that he beat Alexander Fluffy Hernandez, the way that he put a beat down on him respectfully to Fluffy, the way that he finished him with that knee to the midsection, and then, to be honest, how he handled himself on the microphone, right?
Fluffy's the definition of a man.
He deserves this shot. Of course, he lost the belt to Dricus du Plessis. How's he going to do against Khamzat Chimaev? I don't know about that. Khamzat Chimaev is ridiculous. What is he, 15-0? He's a force of nature. Of course, went to a decision with Dricus du Plessis, controlled him throughout the entirety of the fight. Yes, he was trying to...
But here's where this gets absolutely wild. Bisping revealed something that changes everything about this matchup. These two have actually trained together before, which means they know each other's games intimately. They've studied each other's weaknesses, they've felt each other's power, and they've already exchanged heated words that go way beyond typical fight promotion. Strickland, who's notorious for saying whatever pops into his head without any filter whatsoever, has been targeting Chimaev personally. And Chimaev. He carries this unwavering belief that he's untouchable. Bisping actually joked that the UFC might need extra security during fight week just to keep these guys separated. Daniel Cormier laughed about the same thing, because anyone who follows these fighters knows the potential for genuine violence before they even make it to the octagon is absolutely real. This isn't manufactured drama for pay-per-view buys. This is legitimate bad blood.
There's a backstory between Chimaev and Sean Strickland. They have trained with one another. There's a bit of shit talk. There's going to be bad blood. We know that the lead up to the fight will be goddamn insane, right? Chimaev doesn't hold back. He talks shit, but in a kind of reserved way, but like he truly believes in himself. And Sean Strickland is just going to go on the full offensive. We know that. We know that. He's going to be talking some crazy shit. Dana even joked about it on the little show that we did there. He said they're going to need extra security for that fight during the fight week, leading up to the fight, after the fight, in the fight. It's going to be a mad one because Sean Strickland doesn't hold back. And you know what? Even if you don't like the shit that he says, you have to appreciate the entertainment value that he brings to the table. And then on top of that, the performances inside the octagon. That one against Fluffy, that was a different Sean Strickland, okay? But can he stop the takedowns of Khamzat Chimaev? Because let's be honest, that...
Jorge Masvidal just stepped into this conversation and dropped some serious knowledge that nobody else is talking about. Gamebred passionately argued that Strickland has more than earned another shot at the belt, and his reasoning is bulletproof. He pointed directly to Sean's absolutely dominant 5-round destruction of Israel Adesanya, emphasizing that Strickland didn't just squeak out a decision against the champion. He completely controlled Izzy from the opening bell to the final horn, neutralizing one of the most dangerous strikers in MMA history when Adesanya was still in his absolute prime. While Masvidal acknowledged that Strickland had a rough night losing his title to du Plessis, he stressed that Sean bounced back with impressive performances that kept him right there among the division's elite. As Masvidal put it perfectly, When you ask who deserves the title shot most, it's hard to argue against the guy who already dominated the previous long-reigning champion.
Izzy had just beaten Pereira.
Yeah.
So it's not like
5-0, he beat him, right? 5 rounds.
No, he knocked him out.
No, I'm saying Strickland, beat him. He just beat him in every round.
5 rounds and almost stopped him, I think, in the first. So I really thought that Izzy was on top of his game. Maybe going into that fight, for whatever reason, he wasn't at his best mind. But physically, he was still in his prime. I know Izzy's had his ups and downs after that. But Sean beat a prime Izzy, man. So we can't ever forget that. And then I know he had a bad fight with the South African dude, the killer.
DDP?
Yeah. DDP's another killer, bro. He's phenomenal, you know. And he had a bad showing there. But since then, I mean, I think Sean is 2-0 right now.
He beat Costa,
which was
just
wasn't the best fight. It wasn't the best showing. It was
but he won.
Forward,
yeah.
But he won convincingly. There's no doubt about it. But then when he did the fluffy, which had a lot of hype behind him.
Now get this part, because this is where the tactical breakdown gets absolutely fascinating. Masvidal explained that beating a monster like Chimaev requires a very specific, well-rounded skill set that most fighters simply don't possess. It's not just about having knockout power or great striking. You need elite wrestling defense to stuff those relentless takedowns that Chimaev shoots for all night long. You need scrambling ability to get back to your feet when you do get taken down. And most importantly, you need to maintain constant forward pressure both mentally and physically, so he can't impose his suffocating game plan. Only fighters who can genuinely combine high-level grappling with consistent striking pressure, while never backing down, stand any real chance of surviving Chimaev's relentless style that has overwhelmed so many elite opponents.
So you think a guy that beats Khamzat is a guy that has good enough wrestling, but has also, like, you know, crazy striking?
Not
right?
crazy striking, but you have to be able to wrestle back in. You have to be able to get back up to your feet when you get taken down and put the pressure on him.
Okay. Yeah, that's why, you know, I didn't expect you to say that. I didn't expect you to say Strickland will be Khamzat, but I mean,
that's my take.
I gotta like kind of listen. I mean, you're the fighter, so we'll see.
Hold up, because Chael Sonnen just revealed something absolutely terrifying about Chimaev that explains why he's so feared. Sonnen shared insider knowledge from Strickland's own experiences, explaining that even in training environments, Chimaev is completely overwhelming to the point where sparring partners don't want to work with him. Here's what's wild. While most elite fighters seek out the toughest training partners to sharpen their skills, Chimaev often picks the easiest opponent in the room, corners them against the cage, and just dominates them completely. This shows a bully-like intensity and predatory mentality that carries directly into his fights. Opponents know exactly what's coming and still can't stop it. That psychological warfare aspect is huge, because when you step into that octagon with Chimaev, you're not just fighting his skills. You're fighting the mental pressure of knowing he's going to try to break you physically and mentally from the opening seconds.
Guys tiptoe around Chimaev. Guys are scared of Chimaev. He has a presence. Sean Strickland said, man, I used to be in the gym with this guy. He's a punk. Ask the people that were there. Sean Strickland said, when I come into a gym, I go find the biggest, baddest dude, and that's who I spar with. When Chimaev comes in the gym, he finds the easiest opponent, takes him in the corner, and beats the hell out of him. He's a bully. He said, people were there. There is one scenario, this is Sean Strickland talking, one scenario where we did a live go and Chimaev started with my back. So he starts in an ideal position and Sean says, I let him choke me. He goes, but what's the point? He's already there. It was a ridiculous position. It was ridiculous that we started in that position. I let him have a choke. He said the rest of the time I ran him out of the room and there was people that saw it. Now, I would.
The MMA guru just broke this down from a technical standpoint that's absolutely eye-opening. He admits it's extremely tough to pick against Chimaev right now, and while he thinks Strickland definitely has the wrestling ability to make things competitive, the reality is brutal. Chimaev keeps improving with every single fight. Now he's got championship experience and a world title around his waist, making him sharper and more dangerous than ever. Here's the key tactical insight. Strickland's wrestling fundamentals are solid, but he's not the type to shoot takedowns or impose his grappling. This could be crucial because it means he'll likely stick to his usual strategy of staying on the back foot, using his jab to control distance, and gradually pushing forward with calculated strikes. While he's added more variety with hooks and uppercuts recently, Guru still favors Chimaev because betting against his relentless, constantly evolving style seems impossible right now.
It's hard to pick against Khamzat Chimaev right now. I do think Strickland has the wrestling game to make it a little bit more of a challenge. But man, it's hard to go against Khamzat Chimaev, and he's only going to be getting better as well. Now that he's a world champion, he's had a lot of time to recover, a lot of time to develop his game. 5 rounds with Dricus du Plessis, that's valuable experience. He'd never been 5 rounds. I don't think he'd ever had a 5-round fight booked. Maybe he had on some like weird circumstance, but I don't think he had. And if he did, he finished it in round 1. He'd never been 5 rounds before. That's a very good experience against a great fighter like Dricus du Plessis, who has wins over Sean Strickland. I do think Strickland's wrestling skill is better than Dricus du Plessis in terms of like his fundamentals. Now, du Plessis was the one taking down Sean Strickland in their fight, but Sean Strickland is just not the guy who's going to be shooting takedowns.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. Kamaru Usman highlighted something that could be Strickland's secret weapon. He's incredibly difficult to hit cleanly. According to Usman's expert analysis, Strickland's defensive fundamentals are exceptional. He relaxes his hands instead of keeping them tight, leans away from punches at perfect angles, and makes it extremely hard for opponents to land clean shots that actually score damage. Unlike most fighters who swing aggressively and leave themselves open, Strickland's unorthodox defensive style forces opponents to be incredibly precise with timing and placement. Only perfectly timed sequences, like what Paulo Costa initially landed or what Pereira finished him with years ago, can consistently penetrate his defense. This reality adds massive complexity to the Chimaev matchup, because Khamzat will have to find ways to break through one of the most defensively elusive fighters in the division.
He's going to do what he always does. On the back foot, jab, teep. If eventually the momentum swings, he's going to start bringing that forwards a little bit and start pushing you backwards while jabbing and throwing the right hand now and then and teeping the body and doing what he does. He's mixing in some other things into his game recently with the hooks and the uppercuts, and he's letting his hands go a little bit more as he did against Anthony Hernandez. I am going to lean towards Chimaev right now.
Here's where Usman dropped a bombshell that nobody else is discussing. He pointed out a potential vulnerability in Chimaev's game that could be exploited. While everyone sees Khamzat as this unstoppable force, Usman noted that if his primary weapon, the wrestling and takedowns, gets neutralized by strong defensive grappling, then he's forced to rely on his complete skill set across all areas. And that's where questions emerge. Training in one area might look flawless, but mixing everything together seamlessly under championship pressure isn't always as easy as it looks. Chimaev absolutely has dangerous striking and dropped Gilbert Burns multiple times, but relying too heavily on takedowns can expose gaps when you're forced to adapt. Meanwhile, Ariel Helwani discussed the massive promotional impact of this fight, explaining that it generates far more mainstream attention than other potential matchups. The bitter rivalry and extensive history of trading verbal shots makes this compelling beyond just the fighting skills.
This is what I have to say is that Strickland is, I've always said this, Strickland is extremely tricky to hit because everyone gets into the sport, is fighting, and then everyone swings at people's heads and try to take off their heads. Strickland had this weird style of just kind of relax here and just kind of throws his hands up to kind of block and leans away to where it's very difficult for people to get to his face to hit him. As you see when he, who was it that actually caught him was Pereira. I think it was coming off of like a fake knee, and it was kind of just Pereira has those hooks that you don't really see because his hands are so low, and it just boom, and then a straight right, boom, put him out. It's a very, if you're not in a situation like that, Strickland is.
So there you have it. We've got an undefeated monster with suffocating pressure facing a former champion with elite defensive skills and legitimate bad blood fueling everything. This isn't just about fighting techniques or championship belts anymore. This is about pride, respect, and who controls the future of the middleweight division. The tactical matchup is fascinating, the personal animosity is real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. One fighter's undefeated streak ends, and the other becomes the undisputed king of 185 pounds. Here's my question for you. Does Strickland's defensive wizardry and championship experience give him enough to neutralize Chimaev's relentless pressure? Or is the undefeated streak too powerful to stop? Drop your detailed predictions in the comments below and tell me exactly how you see this war playing out. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake in this massive fight, smash that like button, subscribe for more in-depth MMA analysis, and hit the notification bell because this rivalry is about to explode. I'll see you in the next one.